Тому що у нас робота буде, у них немає. У нас пенсії будуть, у них немає. У нас піклування під дітей, під людей, під пенсіонерів, під дітей буде, у них немає. У нас діти підуть до школи, до дитячих садків, у них вони будуть сидіти в підвалах. Бо вони нічого не вміють робити. І так, і саме так ми виграємо цю війну.
Wind strong, it came in, and he's gone no way again. He's trying, but he can't do it. So I'm out here at Leeds Bradford Airport. Everything's gone quiet. So there's some interesting stuff going on in the world. Donald Trump has turned round to Russia with a Trump Social or Truth Social post, which has said some very, very, very strange things. Basically put Russia as a sub-party, as a constituent but not the main party in World War II. Thank you for helping us to win the war, he said. Thank you for helping America win the war. In other words, America won the war and you were subservient. I don't think that's what it was, to tell you the truth. In fact, it was damn well the other way round. But if you're actually going to try and get America to be interested, if you're going to try and get Russia to be interested in talking to you about Ukraine, then maybe you should know what you're talking about from their perspective. He then said Russia lost 60 million lives during the Second World War. Well, first of all, it was the Soviet Union. Russia, of course, was the main constituent, but it was the Soviet Union, and it was 27 million lives. And so with what he's saying to them, they're going to be going, this guy doesn't know anything. Who is it that is feeding him crap? The next bit that he said was, you've got to stop your war. Pull out now. Basically, it's all your fault. You should never have gone in. And it really does show that he doesn't know anything about the background, the context, the history of it. Which means that just like Putin did with that news correspondent who went independent, I've forgotten his name now. Begin with C, does it? No, it's not Crowther. It's the other guy. He spent 45 minutes giving him a history lesson. And he might have to give Trump a 45-minute history lesson, because Trump really doesn't know anything about how America has actually been the true source of the start of this war ever since 1991, but particularly from expanding NATO in the 2000s, the late 1990s, and then inviting Georgia and Ukraine into NATO in 2008, which was just absolute madness. Then there was all the EU, UK, the West, and in particular the United States in setting off the Maidan and killing a load of people and making a minority group of supremacists from the west of Ukraine take over the whole of Ukraine. And then enforcing a coup on the democratically elected, if not corrupt, pro-Russian Ukrainian president. And then all the stuff to do with the Minsk agreements, which the EU, Germany and France conspired against Russia by saying they agreed to these agreements, and then knowing at the time that it was solely so that Ukraine could build up an army and continue its state-sponsored terrorism against the Donbass. And some people would say, oh yeah, but Crimea in 2014. Yeah, but NATO and the United States were going to change Sevastopol into a NATO port on the Black Sea. So Russia wasn't going to have that. It's right in their bailiwick. Russia is not going to have the US and NATO right on their doorstep, keeping them down, pressuring them constantly and consistently. Russia's just not going to do it. This is all Sun Tzu stuff. This is all know your enemy. Know what your enemy is thinking. Know what your enemy requires. Know how your enemy thinks. Know how they work. I mean, in particular, all this stuff during the actual Ukraine-Russia SMO, as it's known, the Special Military Operation. All the way through this, the West has been going, Russia doesn't know what it's doing, it doesn't have the stuff, it doesn't have the people, it's not doing big, fast operations. It's not trying to just run through Ukraine as fast as it can. Well, it did do that right at the beginning, and they got to an agreement in Turkey. And then Boris Johnson and Joe Biden put the kibosh on it. And Zelensky has just been lying about that as well. He turned around and said that agreement would have put Medvedchuk as Ukraine president. No, it did not say anything of the sort. It did not have any of that inside it. Medvedchuk at that time was actually held in prison by Ukraine, and he ended up having to be released in one of the prisoner exchanges. Probably cost Russia 1,000 Ukrainian prisoners just to get Medvedchuk out from prison. The SBU had hold of him, and it didn't have any of that. It had Ukraine maintaining all of its land But the Donbass and the Russian-speaking areas would be much more self-determining, but still part of Ukraine. What else was it? They had to reduce their military, they had to agree to independence, neutrality, not NATO, not EU, but not Russia either, just an independent country. It's very much like the I can't remember what the protocol is that's in America. It's not McCarthy protocol. It's something else. Where anything that happens around the Americas, America will not allow it. America will not allow foreign troops, foreign submarines, foreign bases in any of the American continent. I can't remember what it's called, which protocol it is. And they maintain that because that is America's area. Yet they didn't give a shit about Russia and Russia's area and Russia's domain and Russia's sphere of influence. Sphere of influence is the area that is the term that I'm interested in. NATO, the EU, the UK, Japan, Australia, the West, and the United States have not given a damn about Russia's sphere of influence. They've just wanted Russia to be held down, kept down, under the yoke. They want Russia to be a gas station masquerading as a country, down, under the yoke. They want Russia to be a gas station masquerading as a country. But that's not true. Russia's never been that. Russia was weak, particularly through the 1990s. With Yeltsin, very, very weak indeed. Had major problems internally, all the way through. And a lot of that was fomented by the United States as well. But they've developed themselves. And they've kept telling the West that the West is breaking Russia's red lines. But Russia really couldn't do anything about it. They didn't have the strength. But in 2022, they decided they didn't have a choice but to do something. Okay. And a hell of a lot of people wouldn't have died, would not have died in Ukraine if the agreement, which had already been put in place, if that had been taken forward. But Zelensky, on the advice of Boris Johnson, the EU and the United States, decided not to go forward, and instead nearly 1 million Ukrainians have either lost their lives or they are seriously injured with lifelong injuries. Crazy stuff. And now Trump's come in and gone, stop it, we'll put taxes, tariffs, sanctions against you and against other countries. And Putin must be thinking, by heck, you sound like Joe Biden. Joe Biden was idiotic, and you're sounding just as idiotic, if not even more idiotic, with your lack of knowledge of the history of World War II and what it is that we are after. Russia is not going to bend over. Russia has turned its back on the West. Russia will not listen to the words of the West. Russia will look at the deeds of the West from now to see whether they're serious. and Zelensky has got no option. One thing that apparently Trump has done is he has put a 3-month kibosh on any further sending of material and military aspects through to Ukraine. 3 months, that gives him to the 100 days. That might start bringing Zelensky to the table, but he's got a major problem because right at the beginning of the war, he turned round after the agreement in Turkey. He turned round and introduced a law via Parliament, the Verkhovna Rada. He introduced a law there which said anybody who attempts to negotiate with Russia while Vladimir Putin is there will effectively be put to death, executed. It's illegal to do it, and it comes with capital punishment, from what I can tell. So, they really stuffed themselves with this. Von der Leyen has finally admitted that losing all of the gas from Russia has caused major problems throughout the EU. It's the first time she's admitted it. We've been saying it for years. The next thing she'll be talking about the Nord Stream. Oh, Russia shouldn't have bombed its own pipes. The last thing that she said, this was just last week, was she said that Russia had turned off the taps. What a stupid woman that is. Absolutely ridiculous. What the strangest statement you could ever have. It was nothing to do with Russia turning off the taps. It's to do with the EU saying, nope, we're not having it. It's to do with Zelensky going, you're not pushing your stuff through our country. The taps have always been turned on from Russia. The Nord Stream is still not being used, the little bit that's available to be used, because it needed maintenance on some of its stuff. The thing is, the things that needed maintenance on it had to go to Canada to be maintained. For some reason. I don't know why, Canada. Maybe that's where they were bought from in the originally, and part of the agreement was they have to go to Canada to be maintained. But Canada turned around and said, because of sanctions, we can't send them back, so it's no use sending it to us. So, okay, so we put the sanctions on, and so that we've not got the Nord Stream. Then America and Germany decided to blow the thing up, along with Poland and Ukraine. And now the Druzhba oil line through Ukraine has been turned off because Ukraine has said nope, no more. The contract came to an end and they did not sign for it. So they've lost 5 million euros worth of income from that. We're not paying Vladimir Putin for his military economy so that he can kill us all. So Hungary's not happy about that. Slovakia's not happy about that. And now Trump wants to slap on taxes, tariffs and sanctions. What the hell else is he going to sanction? Maybe he could sanction the things that are needed for nuclear power plants, so that in the EU they all blow up instead, because they can't get new ones. Okay, it's a good idea, isn't it? I don't know. You know, this is a civil war over there. All started by the supremacists in Ukraine.
Урок немецкого языка в школе Украины. Понеслась. Зихай! Урок закончен.
who were the minority. And then this comic actor comes in as a puppet. For those of you that don't know, Zelensky used to be an actor, and Zelensky actually played the president of Ukraine in a comedy skit series. So Kolomoisky decided that, oh, he's actually quite good, this guy. He knows how to talk to people and people like him, so we'll put him in. We'll put this guy in for president. And people voted for him. A lot of people voted for him because he said, I'm going to stop the Donbass issue. I'm going to bring back peace with Russia. I'm going to get rid of all of the old Poroshenko stuff.
Тому що у нас робота буде, у них немає. У нас пенсії будуть, у них немає. У нас піклування під дітей, під людей, під пенсіонерів, під дітей буде, у них немає. У нас діти підуть до школи і до дитячих садків, у них вони будуть сидіти в підвалах. Бо вони нічого не вміють робити. І так, і саме так ми виграємо цю війну.
And stop the fighting. We will stop calling the Donbass people terrorists. We will stop bombing them. We will stop machine gunning them. And we'll get back to being one Ukraine, accepting a diversity of people, which includes the people of ethnic Russian nationality throughout the Donbass, Kherson, Odessa, Zaporozhye. Everything will be fine. And one of the first things he actually did try to do was to go to the front line and tell people, right, turn around, go home. And they kicked his butt. He suddenly realised that was not why he was there. That was his political lines for getting into office. Poor Volodymyr. Right. I don't think anything's coming, is it? So it's time for me to go.